All right, happy Wednesday, June 5th, everybody. Hope you are all well wherever you may be. It is a hot one here in the Bay Area, and it is sweltering. My name is Albert of Albert's List, and I will be your host today for this mock interview featuring a product support specialist that you see in Dye. He's chosen a job description over at Figma. And today we also have back as usual for the 98th time, Corey of careershakers.com. Corey will ask the questions, I will respond, and then we will have feedback given afterwards. For those of you watching in the audience, feel free to enter in your own questions and also follow along. Corey, over to you.
Thank you, everyone. I just put the link to the job description in the chat. We're going to be practicing a product support specialist role at Figma. And if anyone is interested in volunteering, I think we've got some space coming up in probably July is, I think, the earliest one in which we can take more volunteers for these mock interviews. So please contact me or Albert. And also, Di is a member of our 5 weeks to hired interview boot camp. And so we'll be practicing a lot of the same concepts that we've covered in our boot camp today. And hopefully everyone can see what Di has done in terms of his work history. Now, I always want to give everyone a big platform as a thank you to volunteering here and being so brave. And so I'll pass this over to Di. Why don't you give everyone like a non-interview introduction to yourself, talk to them about what kind of roles, companies, and things you're looking for. That way, if anyone is impressed with your background, they can contact you or share other referrals or job opportunities.
Cool, thank you. I'm Di. I'm from the Bay Area. I've been in the product support for 10 years. Looking for a new challenge, next steps. The candid version is my company got acquired. A lot of changes happened. Just a little different leadership moving on. My friends are moving on. Yeah, the sad SaaS industry is happening. Looking for, yeah, I think a smaller SaaS would be nice. But in this job market, anything that really fits what I'm doing right now would be great. Open to remote, hybrid. Yeah, that's the short version.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, if anyone has any product support specialist roles, customer support type roles in SaaS and tech, please reach out to Di. Cool. So in terms of our mock interviews, how it works is I pretend to be an interviewer, which means I'll ask an interview question. And I usually don't give hints unless someone gets totally stuck. So we'll treat it like a real interview. And then after the end of Di's answers, then I'll put on like my coaching hat. We'll give some feedback, some areas of improvement, things that are really good. That way, those of you who are practicing at home or listening on, you can also figure out how to adjust and modify your practice answers for upcoming interview questions. And I've got some questions of my own, but if you have questions that you want us to practice, or you just have questions for me, Albert, or Di, utilize the Zoom chat function. All right, ready to get started?
Yep.
Cool. All right, Di. Why should we hire you here at Figma?
Yeah, I've 10 years of experience as a product support. I think my natural curiosity helps with the support organization. From the job description I read, it looks like your team or your company is looking to expand the product support. My goal, of course, is to help customers. I like to help people. That's just like the natural thing for me. And with my experience of not just helping customers with documentation, creating and improving processes, I think I'll be able to offer that experience to your company.
So you mentioned that you do trainings and create documentations and things. Do you have some examples of things that you've done?
Yeah, good question. For trainings, I've onboarded 8 new CSRs when I was CSR when I first joined, or a year after I joined. I made content, included all the new releases that were happening, and then at the end, I would ask for feedback. Made improvements with that. With new currently I work as a product support specialist. So there was a gap between the CSR and the escalation support. Tickets would be escalated incomplete. So I also made like a feedback tracking in the support team to make sure like we're following the right steps, key points, missing points that didn't happen from the CSRs. We just want to make sure everyone is aligned. If there's any like training that we needed to do, documentation that we're missing, we get feedback from that and make sure we're able to close the gap.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right, so I like what Dai did here. He is trying to incorporate not just the status quo stuff in terms of customer support, product support, but he also tried to sprinkle in some of the differentiators, right? Which is like process improvements, creating trainings, those types of things, which is awesome. Now, we also want to make sure that we cover the bases. So like, what are some of the basic metrics and measurements that product support specialists get measured on, Dai?
I think we meet our SLAs, CSATs, NPS. Yeah, the basic ones.
Yeah. So give me a sense of like how good you are at your core job, right? Sure. That should probably be like the first 5-10 seconds, right? 10 years as a senior product support specialist.
Right.
Never missed my SLA deadline. Currently have a 98% CSAT rating. Only handle enterprise level customer escalations, blah, 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 right? Give me a sense of the scope of work. Show me that you're really good at your core job. That kind of checks the boxes for me, right? Now, this by itself, not going to make you stand out, but at least give me that confidence that like, okay, so Dai is really good at that. Awesome. Then you move on to your process improvements, created trainings, and then just sprinkle in super short examples, just like you did when I asked you the follow-up question, right? So that's like showing, not just telling, right? So you can say, now, in addition to, my 98% CSAT score, I've also, built some trainings. Like within the first year, I was asked to train 9 new CSRs at my current company. And then we also worked on some process improvement activities as well. Identified a problem with our escalation process. There was a gap between CSRs and escalations, which led to certain product improvements like X, Y, and Z. Right. That gives me the basics, plus shows me your differentiators without making it too long. Make sense?
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Very good. All right. You're going to laugh at this one, Dai. But Dai, what is your greatest accomplishment?
Okay, that's great because I wanted to test something. My greatest accomplishment, I'm really proud. My first year of joining, I wanted to know the product. I work in an ATS company at the moment, and that was really new to me. So I wanted to know the product that we offered. So I made a goal to take as many tickets and make sure to hit CSAT. And within a year, we had an award in the support org, like who take the most tickets, who had the highest CSAT. I wasn't able to hit the CSAT, but I did hit 90% CSAT for the year. I did take the most with 9,000 tickets in a year. I think that really solidified my confidence in the product, knowing the product itself and the process that comes with handling the ticket. And I was able to take on more responsibilities after that.
Like what?
Responsibilities, what I do now about training, documentation, being able to see the gap because of handling those tickets.
Okay. Really good start, right? Basically, you were trying to say that you're like one of the only people
foundation,
to receive an award at your company for taking the most amount of tickets while having a 90% CSAT score, right? Which is super impressive, right? That's something that a lot of candidates may not be able to replicate, right? They may say that they have a 90% CSAT score, but were they able to win an award at their company for taking the most amount of tickets? You said 9,000. I love that you quantified it, right? But then it's the, okay, so why is this actually make you a better person or a better candidate, right? Like, yes, I was able to master the product. For example, I learned that we are the only product that allows customers to do X, Y, and Z, or what I was hoping to, and I'm just going to share the job description very quickly. I will lose audio, but oh, how come that link doesn't work? Bum, bum, bum. Here, let's try this. Okay. I'm going to highlight something on my screen here, which I was hoping that Dai would say as his greatest accomplishment, because it's in the job description.
Is the voice of the customer?
Yes. Let me zoom in here.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so I should have audio now. Yeah, okay. So I would be looking for something along the lines of voice of the customer / impact product roadmap, right? Like if
Right.
someone
Yeah.
were to say that to me with a solid example of how they did that, that would be a pretty awesome accomplishment because that shows me not only can you do your regular job, but you can also do more and in a way that actually benefits my company outside of just solving tickets, right? So I think if it's I won the award allowed me to learn so much about the product, like X, Y, and Z, which led me to present or provide recommendations for updates, fixes, bugs, new features, voice of the customer, I don't know, retained key account, who knows, right? Like, so if we take that one step further, Dai, then that'd be perfect. And I'm
Okay.
going to put this in the chat for everyone. Yeah, if we could just go one more step, that'd be perfect.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you did this one because I wasn't sure like if that was a good achievement because what we talked about like that is kind of my job to like help
Yep.
customers, but
Yep.
I guess like yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it's not like, oh, that like this is great because it allowed me to also do trainings and like documentation. It's like, oh, okay, right? But greatest
Right.
accomplishment, right? This is like basically everyone gets one chance to say something super awesome and impressive that would be unique and different than everyone else, right? So if and this just goes for everybody, right? If someone asks you what is your greatest accomplishment or the most complex problem that you've solved, you get one chance to show them the most like crazy impactful thing you've done or the most crazy complex problem. And so take your opportunity to really show off that skill set.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Dai, tell me about a time you had to deal with a very difficult customer and what was the result?
Yeah. About a month ago, we had a ticket or I had a ticket. The email wasn't syncing. I went through all the basic troubleshooting steps, diagnosed with they were using Microsoft. I had them send me a screenshot of Microsoft to make sure everything was correct. I couldn't figure it out, so I had to escalate it to our engineering team to have them look into it. And I told the customer that they unfortunately reached out to their CSM because it's a pain point because they can't email. That's what our product is doing or intended to do. So it was escalated. They were making noise, which is understandable to their leadership. My leadership reached out, and I wanted to make sure I communicate, hey, to the customer, like, hey, I got your, it's being looked at. This is high priority. Make sure they're being heard. I offered to hop on a call to make sure they know what's going on. It felt like there was just a miscommunication because I've already told them that hey, it's being escalated. I wanted to help them out as much as possible. And then I I was having a communication with the Edge team every day to just make sure if it's moving, update my leadership as well, and update the customer. So I made sure communication is key. If I'm in the customer shoe, I want to make sure I hear something. If it's even like a no update, I think that just helps them that they're being heard. That went on for like a few days, unfortunately, and at the end, the engineering team came saying there's really no issue on our side. I think it's just something on Microsoft. So I hopped on a call with them. I don't want to do that via email because it just didn't make. I wanted to make it more personal. I reached out to them, explained the situation, and I had the IT team join as well. And then they said, "Okay, well, let me look into this, or let us look into this." And then the next day they said, "Okay, we got to figure it out." So I didn't want to like blame them. I went with like a neutral stance, saying, "Hey, like we did what we can. It just seems like it's on your side. Can you look into it and let us know?" And then we were able to get it resolved. I asked them for like what happened. I think there was just like a different setting that we didn't check. So that was kind of my fault, but I made sure to document that for next time for my teammates if they had something like that. And then I didn't blame them for anything. It was just like, okay, I'm glad we got to the end, and that's it. Like, let me know if you have any other questions. And I think we were all happy at the end result.
In your opinion, what made this particular interaction or case so difficult?
I think the customer reaching out and like making noise, even though it was something that it was on their end. I think that made it a little complicated and didn't need to be raised. Didn't need to rattle the cages a little bit. I think that made the leadership a little confused what's going on, and yeah.
And this has never happened to you before?
In what sense? Sorry.
Like, has this ever been escalated to your CSM and then leadership before?
Not that I remember. Yeah, it's been pretty quiet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, what did you learn from this experience?
So not just make sure to check every aspect of the settings. I think there was something that we always check, but at the end, if I think about it again, it was a setting that we should have checked, and it was something to do with their email, and there was something like on the next page in their Microsoft side, so we could have made sure to click into that page as well. I think that to not rush and not assume everything is set, because we did see the one part, but just go to the basic and make sure everything is set correctly.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is an interesting example choice, right? Like, tell me about a time you had to deal with a very difficult customer, and then what was the result? I agree, the customer was difficult because they decided to escalate, and it got your leadership and CSM involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that does make it difficult. The part of the story that worries me is that it could have been avoided if you checked a setting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're going to have to say that when they ask you, what did you learn from it? Was it like a unusual setting that like impacted this, that like you guys were never trained on?
It yes. And yeah, it's like I could learn more about Microsoft, but Microsoft is just personally like really outdated in my and
Like
then
the
it's just
operating
like
system, you mean?
yeah,
Like,
like in the
okay.
setting, like how it's like set up. You could change like you could have like your actual email to like log in, but then you could have like a different email to like schedule calendars and send emails, or sorry, log in and then send emails and stuff like that. So it's just there's just like this unique setup that they have um, compared to like Google. It's guy@gmail.com, and that's
Yeah.
just like the email you have. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then I think we need to just word it that way, right? And also include the context where like no one's ever escalated before, right? You
Mhm.
can you can mention like this was a super difficult case because this was the first time in which we weren't able to provide quick resolution within our typical SLAs. And even though I had expressed that this is being escalated to our engineering team to try to figure out if it's something that's on our end,
Mhm.
they still decided to go around me, talk to the CSM, and then it got escalated to leadership on both sales and customers on
Super.
the
Yeah.
support end, right? And then unfortunately, just because of the complexity of the technical issue that they were facing, which is something our company's never seen before, and it took the engineering team a few days to actually troubleshoot it. And their conclusion was actually that there was nothing wrong with our product on our end. There was something most likely on the customer's end, and our initial hypothesis was that it was due to their operating system for Windows. And so obviously I didn't want to blame the customer. I want to make sure that they, still have a great experience with our company. And so I scheduled a call, blah, blah, blah. And then we asked them to bring someone from their IT department with them. And then we troubleshooted live together. And then it turned out to be actually an operating system setting in which we've never been trained for, which we've only seen unique to this one with this one particular customer, right? And so what I've learned from this is that that even though we can troubleshoot and provide all of the right resolutions and go through the typical steps on our end for support, there are also going to be times in which the customer's issues may actually have been may actually have originated from their end. And it's also important to make sure that we can work with their IT departments to troubleshoot ideas that may come on either end, and then it'll allow us to reach solutions much quicker, right? So it's not so much about, oh, I learned that there's a new setting in Microsoft that could have allowed this to work, right? It's more
Right.
like I learned that actually it's not always us. Like the customer also and their technology stack could also affect the efficacy of our product. And now we know that, for example, Microsoft 97 operating systems have a particular setting that impacts the ability for users to receive and send emails, via automation. Which then I've updated our documentation. Our product team is now aware of it. We now ask all customers what operating system that they use, and if it's the specific one, we now flag it. Blah 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 blah. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think you're shifting responsibility away from like I could have prevented this, as opposed to
Right.
like this is what I've learned. Super difficult customer, still gave them a great experience, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Dai. So imagine we hired you here at Figma on our product support team. How would you quickly become a product expert?
Great question. I believe there will be training for like the first few weeks, 30 days. I'm looking forward to that. Also, on my own time, I'm a visual learner, so I wanted to get access to test environments, try to not break it, but just do everything that I've learned, make sure I understand the concept and also do what was trained. Also look at tickets that are coming, reach out to my future teammates, and ask questions. I think I'm just going to annoy people by asking questions, but I think that's just how I like to learn. And then read up on documentations and reach out to the engineering team if it's possible, get insights on why some features work like this, just to understand um, the connection between like few product or few areas.
What do you think is unique about your approach for onboarding that other people may not do?
Yeah, I'm a natural, like I have a natural curiosity on everything. I just like to know the why behind it. I think that also helped me grow into where I am now. Customers also reach out, of course, but if I'm handling a ticket, I want to know why, like why they were doing that when they experienced the issue. I think that helps me understand the core of the product, and I think that also helps me understand the process of the how we handle stuff and how we came up with new features.
Okay. All right. All right. So we'll move on to the feedback section here. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like, unfortunately, it's like a standard boring question that everyone will ask, right? And so Dai did a good job covering the basics. You're obviously going to get product training when you get onboarded. You can ask questions to engineering. You can play with the tool itself, right? Those are all the kind of stuff that people will say, right? And so here you kind of want to attack it either from two different angles, right? It's one, you have like a really creative, unique way of learning stuff outside of just reading and asking questions, right? But that one's hard, right? Or it could be that not only do you like to become a product expert, but you also like to understand the ins and outs of the support processes. For example, I don't know how escalations work, particularly at Figma. You've learned from your experience, 10 years in the industry, that I don't know, figuring out how escalation processes really work on the back end, like the little nuances, ins and outs, will actually allow you to provide better, I don't know, SLAs or higher CSAT scores for your customers and blah, blah, blah. So you either attack it from the angle of like, here's my unique, super unique, different approach to mastering a product, or here's what I'll do to master your product. But on top of that, just mastering the product is not enough by itself. I also want to make sure I learn X, Y, and Z. And then you could throw in like super short, quick example, right? Like in the past, I've learned that you also, not only do you need to know the product, but you also need to understand the blah, blah, blah process, or the something engineering. I don't know, right? Because, there could be instances in which customers, need me to do blah, 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 right? And only because I have knowledge of both, I'd be able to actually, solve these issues without having to escalate to gate 2 or whatever. So you kind of want to attack it in either way. And this is just like, in general, it's like getting the basic answer down first. Cool. Then we got to figure out, okay, what's our unique approach to this, right? Like, it's either got to be creative, but that one's kind of hard. Okay, so maybe it's like scalability or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. And again, if anyone in the chat has questions for us, don't be shy. Throw it in there. Okay, Dai, imagine you were here at Figma, right? And then a high-risk escalation was given to you. How would you handle this?
Yeah, I would approach it as I normally do. I would understand what the issue is, make sure I want to make sure I understand the issue completely. At the same time, offer a phone call to, I think a phone call goes a long way rather than an email. If it came through an email, I just want to make sure that they're being handled by me. It's a high priority, and make sure, first I would make sure what the issue is, what we've done already, and go through the ticket to understand if we haven't missed anything. And sorry, go through the ticket, make sure I understand everything. I would reach out to my engineering team, make a Jira if we use Jira, and just leave all the notes the reproducing steps, if it was something that was reproducible in my test environment, I would make a note of that, screenshots, videos to, it could be like a step that they're missing, doing something. So I would jot that down, just keep them updated of what we're doing to remedy this, and keep them updated. Again, like a no update, I think goes a long way as well. And yeah, I think the communication is key.
So since you have 10 years of experience in this industry, what are different types of high escalation tickets that could be brought to your attention? And then how would you go about solving these types of escalations?
Yeah, I think two main escalation, I think, is a ticket or issue that they have issue with the product itself, or people reaching out because they want to be, they just want to be heard. They're escalating it because they're just upset that they're not the product's not working. For the first one, I think again, same approach as always. I would make sure everything that we could do with our tools to make sure everything, we've done everything to get it resolved for them. If not, I would raise it to the engineering team to have them take a look at it. And then the second part, if they're escalating it because they're just upset about the experience that they had, I would hop on a call. Most of the time, from my experience, the issue itself isn't a big issue. We could fix it right away. They might not be like telling us what's going on. I just want to hop on a call, let them talk, and after that, try to get it resolved. If it is something that I have to resolve, great. If not, I would take the same approach and get the engineering team involved to get it resolved.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to feedback here. So this is a hypothetical question, pretty difficult because it's super vague, right? I don't tell you what the issue is.
Right.
So I would say you would want to do exactly what you just did there, Dai, because you don't know what the issue is. Great. No problem. Show them that you're a seasoned expert in this space, which would be, okay, well, typically from my experience, there's three, right? There's three different types of high risk escalations. The first is that our product actually has a major bug or issue. Second is that there's a customer who just feels like they're not being heard and getting the appropriate response time that they truly need, but the technical issue itself is not that serious. And then third is, I forget what you mentioned, but it's like
escalated and like the issue, I think.
Yeah, or it could just actually be like a customer believes that this is super important and it's our fault, but actually it's not, basically, right? So these are the three types of general high escalation tickets that I've seen in my experience. Let me now walk you through each of these three scenarios and how I would handle them, and if there's any tricky little situations or any tricky nuances that I would, also account for. Then you go through it, right? And of course, you did the standard stuff, right? Document, test, try to reproduce, log it, can't solve it, flag to engineering. Right. But you and every other candidate in the world are going to say those exact same steps, right? So then it's like, okay, if that's the case, then afterwards, if we are able to get a resolution from engineering, I also want to make sure I update documentation. I also want to make sure I provide training to my teammates. I also want to make sure that we're checking the Jira queue to see if there's other similar cases that we can start to now proactively resolve because we actually have the fix for it, et cetera, right? If it's the second case where technologically it's not actually that difficult, the customer just feels like they're not being heard, that's also a problem for us, right? I can think about my CSAT impacts. I can think about their overall satisfaction level with our product. Since we are a startup, right, every customer's voice matters. If they feel like we don't have the appropriate SLAs, then we could be at risk during renewal periods. And so for that, it's a much more high touch, approach. Here are some special, unique things that I do when I call the customer to make sure that they feel heard, and also to prevent them from trying to escalate stuff that's not really important, right? That's also something you're going to want to think about, right? That's scalability, right, Di? It's like, not only did I like resolve the customer, but you also don't want them to think that they should just escalate everything every single time if they want to get attention, right? So you also want to nip that part in the bud. So that could be your differentiator there, right? It's like, I gave them the service, I helped troubleshoot it for them right away, but I also don't want them to keep escalating stuff just because I solved it for them, right? Because that also creates problems, and that's not scalable. And so I would also then educate the customer. I would teach them about our FAQs document, or how to look at the user manual, or, just tell them like, hey, if you didn't escalate this normally, we still would have gotten to the same result within a 24-hour period, right? There's no need to escalate it, whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's the second scenario. And then the third scenario is, the other case where it like turns out it's actually nothing to do on our end. We actually can't solve it, just like you mentioned before. There's a customer who thought it was our fault, but it's not, right? That also requires a totally unique approach, because now you need to work with their IT department. You need to figure out, how your software stacks, whatever, match, don't match, compatibility. Maybe you need to talk to your sales engineering team who helped implement the product. Maybe they missed a step, skipped a step, whatever, who knows. Then this provides product feedback for features in the future, right? Et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So, and then thinking about after you solve it, now what does Di do? Right? Because I didn't technically say that you couldn't talk about what you do after you solve it, right? So that could maybe also be your differentiator. Is in the first scenario, if I do solve it, here's what else I would do. Second scenario, if I do solve it, here's what else I would do after I solved it, right? Third scenario, I would also do this after it's resolved, blah, 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 right? So these are all like little tiny ways, but if you add them up over the whole answer, it gives you other opportunities to kind of stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, like I think the common theme is adding those steps, at the end, or the differentiators.
Yeah. Because right now you've got the basics down, right? Which is like, this is what every support person would do, right?
Right.
Test, document, bring in engineering, escalate, try to replicate, log in Jira, document, right? Okay, cool.
But what would I do to
and then but like, hey, what else besides that, right? Are we talking about? And in general, for folks who are following along, when you do get a hypothetical question like this that's super vague, obviously you have no idea what the problem is because they didn't tell you. So great, this is your chance to show off your skills. Don't be like, oh, can you tell me what kind of problem this is? Then they'll be like, well, why don't you tell me based on your experience, because you have so many years of experience here, like what kind of problems do you see? So that's when you get to start to show off your expertise, right? Just like Di did, which is like, okay, there's this type of escalation, there's this type of it, and there's this. This is how I would do each of them, and these are some nuances, right? Boom, 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 boom. That shows them you're really experienced in this space.
Sorry, so for like, I know we talked about this in the interview boot camp as well, but like, do we want to like tend to not tell how many years you have experience, or about if you do, just make sure that you back it up?
Yeah, if you do, you got to back it up.
Back
it
up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because I would say it is one of your strengths, right? It's like you've got 10 years of experience in the same role. So I have a high bar for you. But also you have a high bar for yourself, right? Like if you want to be paid at the high end of the range, then you got to show me that you're worth being paid at the high end of the range, right?
Right. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have the experience, you should talk about it, right? Because you want more pay. And you get more pay when you get a senior role. And you only get a senior role when you're able to demonstrate that you've handled all of these types of situations, right? Okay, cool. Di, tell me about a time where you went above the call of duty.
Yeah. I had an engineer team reach out about a sandbox. There wasn't sandbox accounts. We have sandbox for customers to use. It was a interesting request where they noticed when accounts were deactivated and in the sandbox accounts, they weren't being deleted. In our production accounts, we have this automation set up. I think he reached out because I helped implement the auto deletion in the production tools. So he wanted to make sure what was going on with the sandbox account. I actually had no idea. We don't really use the sandbox. That's just a different team to handle. Mainly sandbox accounts are used for partner integrations. They test it out with the integrations. So I talked to my manager about it, and I just wanted to like challenge myself to see what I could find out. So I reached out to the partner team that handles API and the integration. Turns out the account deletion was stopped because the engineering team actually deleted some accounts that they shouldn't have with auto when they had the auto. So I gathered all the information. What needed to be true to turn on the automation deletion, and I went back to the engineering team that reached out, and I had them make sure we were okay with sending that up again. I think we just wanted to make sure that it was deleted for certain criteria, like they were deleted after 90 days of deactivation. So we set up the parameters. I did the documentation that this is how it's going to go moving forward, and that was implemented. I made sure that they provided with a list of accounts that were going to be deleted as soon as the automation was set up, and I made sure no other accounts were deleted. I made sure with the partner team to have them double check, and we were all set. So I was able to get it figured out in an area that I wasn't familiar with.
And then what was the end result with the customer?
They were already supposed to be deleted in our sandbox account. We just wanted the engineering team reached out because the accounts weren't being deleted, so there were data. It was just backing up. I think I don't know. Maybe we had like a terabyte of data or something like that. So the main what the engineering team wanted to do was clean up. So I think that's why they reached out to me again with the implementing or help implementing the account deletion in the production. They thought I knew something about it, and the customers that left, they don't know about it, I guess, because they should have been deleted in their sandbox account. So yeah.
Okay. So tell me about a time you went above the call of duty. So in this case, we're saying you went above the call of duty because you resolved a ticket that was not supposed to be yours, basically, because there's a separate team that handles sandbox issues, and you technically didn't have to actually figure out how it works, but you did anyways, and you work with the engineering team to like fix the auto delete thing that wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So you ended up basically catching like a bit of a bug, and then the benefit of this for the customer was that it allowed them to, I guess, free up memory and do cleanup for their sandbox, I guess, which I don't know was slowing their environment down or didn't allow them to test something, I guess. We need to make that part sound a little bit more
clear,
impactful,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The so what there is not just customer had a problem, solve the problem, great job, me, right? It's like, okay, well, I wanted to go above and beyond here because I don't know, this is super important customer, or we're up for renewal, or I don't know, right? Like there's got to be some big finish right here, which is not like, and then I solved the problem, right? It's like this allowed the customer to do X, Y, and Z for the business, or this allowed them to do blah, 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 or this allowed them to implement or test something, which, you know, really improved their satisfaction with Lever and allowed them to, I don't know, blah, 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 or something, right? Or this is like a key account for us, right? I knew this was, you know, our number one customer, whatever, right? Like, it should be like we should try to enhance that just like a little bit more.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I would say right now, overall, super solid baselines. Stories are memorized. They're super natural for you. I didn't see you pause one time and be like, oh, let me think about that. So there's definitely the mastery there. Now it's like that leveling up piece, right? Which we talked about this
Right.
week, which is here's my base answer. It's fine. Now it's okay, where in here can I level something up? Maybe it's going down a little bit deeper, giving an example. Maybe it's extrapolating on scalability. Maybe it's focusing a little bit more on the complexity, right? Like, why was this particular customer being so difficult, right? Or like, why was this so tricky to solve? Oh, it turns out it wasn't us. It was an operating system, incompatibility, which, we've never seen before, right? Like, so just thinking about those different differentiators as you're trying to think now, how do I level up these stories? Because you've got them down pat, which is what we want, right? This is 4 weeks in. I can see the mastery of the stories. Now it's just putting that little bit of extra on it, where it's like, oh, now that's perfect, right?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. All right, everyone, let's give Dai a huge round of applause. He was super nervous for this, but he totally crushed it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dai. This was amazing.
Thank you.
And if anyone wants more interviewing tips and tricks, please check out the Albert's List YouTube channel and also my Career Shakers YouTube channel as well.
Excellent. Good work, Dai. Thank you, Corey. Thank you all for watching. And we have a lot more, many more webinars coming up, including more mock interviews and mock interview number 99 next week and number 100, which I will be on the hot seat. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we hope to see you here again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.